I want you to think about something you said yes to, that you had no business saying yes to. A role, a responsibility, something that felt too big the moment you agreed, and now you're in it, and every single day you're waiting for someone to tap you on the shoulder and say, "You're not supposed to be here." There is a man in the Bible who felt exactly that way, except God didn't just ask him to lead a team, a company, or a family. God asked him to walk into the most powerful empire on earth and free an entire nation. And the man's first response was a list of excuses. His name was Moses. But before the burning bush, the plagues, the parted sea, he was just a man hiding in the desert, raised in Pharaoh's palace as Egyptian royalty. But then he witnessed an Egyptian guard beating a Hebrew slave, one of his own people. And something in him broke. He intervened and killed the guard. When word got out, he panicked and ran. 40 years in the wilderness, tending sheep, quietly. He wasn't in leadership. He wasn't being groomed for anything. He had washed out of the only powerful life he'd ever known, and he'd built something small and safe and manageable, a flock, a family, a quiet routine. And then a bush caught fire that wouldn't burn up, and a voice said his name. Here's what I want you to notice, because this is where your story and Moses' story begin to overlap. Maybe you weren't expecting the thing that came your way either. Maybe someone nominated you. Maybe a gap opened up and you were the one standing there. Maybe you stepped into something that felt right in the moment, and now you're in it, wondering how you got here. That's Moses. That's where we find him. God's voice tells Moses he's seen the suffering of his people in Egypt, 400 years of slavery. And then he says, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring the Israelites out of Egypt. Let that land for a second. Pharaoh was the most powerful ruler on earth. Egypt was a military superpower. The Israelites numbered in the millions. And God is essentially saying to this 80-year-old, off-the-grid shepherd, you're the one. And maybe you know that feeling, not the burning bush, but the moment when the size of what's being asked of you suddenly becomes real. The job you got promoted into, the team that's now looking to you for answers, the family that needs someone to hold it together. And then the voice in your head starts. Moses doesn't say yes, he makes a list. Excuse number 1, who am I? Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the Israelites out? Exodus 3:11. This isn't false humility. I'm a fugitive. I'm 80 years old. I have no platform, no followers, no credentials. I am genuinely the wrong person for this. Sound familiar? I'm too young. I haven't been doing this long enough. There are smarter people, more experienced people, more qualified people. That's Moses. Excuse number 2. What if they don't believe me? What if I walk in there with confidence and someone just sees right through me? This is the deepest fear of every person who's ever felt like an imposter. It's what if they find out I'm not good enough? Excuse number 3. I am slow of speech. I have never been eloquent. I'm slow of speech and tongue. Exodus 4:10. You need a leader who can move people with words. And I can't even do that. Scholars believe Moses genuinely had a speech impediment. He's not being dramatic. He is literally pointing to the core skill required for the job and saying, I don't have it. And then finally, the 4th excuse, please, send someone else. He gives up before he starts. 4 excuses, all reasonable, all rooted in real, actual limitations. And here's what I want you to sit with, because this is the part we don't talk about enough. God doesn't tell Moses he's wrong. We expect the story to go like this. Moses, you're actually more capable than you think. You've been underselling yourself. Deep down, you have everything you need. But that's not what God says. To every single excuse, God's response is basically the same thing. I know. I will be with you. Exodus 3:12. I will help you speak and will teach you what to say. Exodus 4:12. God doesn't dispute Moses' self-assessment. He doesn't say, actually, you're a great public speaker. He doesn't say, you're more qualified than you feel. He says, your qualification is not the point. My presence is the point. And this is where I think we've been telling the wrong story about imposter syndrome. We've made the solution about you feeling better about yourself. And look, confidence matters. But the story of Moses is not about Moses becoming more confident. Moses is still scared when he walks into Pharaoh's palace. He's still overwhelmed when the people he's leading turn on him in the desert. He still has moments where he tells God he can't do this anymore. Confidence says, I can do this. Faith says, I don't think I can. And I'm going to show up anyway, and delivers a message he didn't write. Let my people go. Pharaoh says no. And then the plagues come, 10 of them. The Nile turns to blood. Frogs swarm the land. Locusts strip every field. Darkness covers Egypt for 3 days. The livestock die. The crops are destroyed. And each time, Moses goes back to Pharaoh with the same message. Let my people go. Moses never crosses from scared to fearless, but he crosses from hiding to going. And when he goes, God goes with him. Moses goes back to Egypt, still slow of speech, still a fugitive who hasn't set foot in this place in 40 years. He walks into a palace he was raised in and stands before a Pharaoh who has every reason to have him killed. And each time, Pharaoh hardens his heart and says no. Think about what this means for Moses. He's being told no again and again while the people he's supposed to be leading are watching. Some of them are angry at Moses because every time he confronts Pharaoh, Pharaoh makes their working conditions harder. This is not a smooth, triumphant leadership arc. This is grinding, uncertain, painful obedience. But plague by plague, Pharaoh's empire unravels. The greatest military and economic power in the ancient world brought to its knees. Finally, after the 10th plague, the one that reaches into every Egyptian household, Pharaoh breaks. He tells Moses to take the Israelites and go, and they leave, millions of people walking out of slavery. And then Pharaoh changes his mind. He sends his entire army, 600 of his best chariots, to bring them back. And the Israelites find themselves trapped, the Red Sea in front of them, the most powerful army in the world closing in from behind. And the people turn on Moses. Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us here to die in the desert? This is the moment Moses' worst fears should have come true. The people don't trust him. The situation is impossible. There is literally nowhere to go. And Moses raises his staff over the water. The sea parts, walls of water on either side, and a nation walks through on dry ground. Not because Moses was extraordinary, because Moses was faithful. Here's what I want you to understand about Moses' leadership. He didn't lead by being the most impressive person in the room. He led by being the most available person to the God who was actually doing the work. The leaders who change things are rarely the most qualified people in the room. They're the ones who said yes when everyone else was calculating reasons to say no. They're the ones who showed up, terrified, and kept showing up. Moses' weaknesses didn't disqualify him. They shaped how he led. They kept him humble. They kept him dependent on something bigger than his own talent. So, what's the role, the responsibility, the calling that you've been saying you're not qualified for? What excuse are you on? Is it, who am I? Is it, what if they don't believe me? Is it, I'm not good at the core skill this requires? Or have you gotten all the way to please send someone else? Your self-doubt is not disqualifying you. It might be exactly where God starts. The burning bush didn't show up to a man who had it all together. It showed up to a fugitive in the wilderness who had run from his biggest failure and built a quiet life around staying small. And the voice that called his name didn't say, "You're ready." It said, "I'll be with you." That same voice is not asking you to feel qualified. It's asking you to go. Deuteronomy 31:8 says, "The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. That's not a motivational quote. That's a promise. The bush is burning. The call is real. And the only question left on the table is not, are you qualified? The question is, will you go? Remember what I asked you at the very beginning of this video. That thing you said yes to that you had no business saying yes to. The role that felt too big the moment you stepped into it. Here's the answer. You're not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to feel called. Moses felt every version of I'm not enough, and he still walked into Pharaoh's palace. The slow of speech man became the voice of liberation for 1 million people. Your inadequacy is not the end of the story. It might be the very first chapter. God doesn't need you to be ready. He needs you to be willing. I'll see you in the next one.